Hey, Anna here with BaccOff. I wanted to go live, but for everybody who's watching this after we're live, welcome. Feel free to comment and pop your questions in the comments. If you join on and are watching me live, then I'll try to answer the ones that I can. But Anna Ralston here. Really excited to go live again for you guys. We were digging around in the office and we found this guy. Ta-da! The original dip stop program. Just take a second to look at that word art right there. Freedom from addiction. I feel like it should echo because of the shadows. Anyway, so my dad, if you're watching this live, like, say hi, check in, pop in the comments so I can make sure they're working, because I've not done this much. I also am not fancy and I don't have like a stand or anything, so bear with me if the camera shakes. But anyway, I thought it'd be fun to look at this. So I'm basically gonna just like look at it because, so this is author Russell Ralston, my dad. The copyright on this is 1991. So fun fact, this was actually, and I'll have to get him on here to let him tell you more. But this was actually the very first thing my dad, Russell, created when he was trying to quit tobacco himself. I guess it came out of his journey. But he always had this, he really liked, hey, Jason from Tennessee, yeah. He really liked mail order back in the days of mail order. Who else on here, like, give a shout out if you remember mail order? And so he really wanted to write this program to help people quit and kind of sell it, I guess, as mail order. I don't know. And then realize, like, no, the key to really quitting is a product that helps replace the addiction, but gives you the satisfaction of dipping, and hence BaccOff was born. But this guy is, this is still around. This is now in the form of our digital BaccOff Bootcamp. Look at everybody from Texas and Iowa. Yeah, guys. Hey, glad y'all are here. And so, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so now we've gone digital with this in our BaccOff Bootcamp, which we kick it out to you guys through emails, through our private Facebook group. Go to our website and look for in our quit dipping resources to find the bootcamp and sign up and join, or just like send us a message and we'll help you get started if you're looking to stop the dip with the Dip Stop program. Freedom from addiction. Anyway, okay. So, I feel like this is like story time. Story time with Anna. Anyway. Copyright 1991, Dip Stop. This is actually the second edition. That makes sense with the word art. This is not 1991 word art. This is like 1998 word art. Oh, I think I could just turn it around. Nah. Anyway, so we've got the preface here, and he's saying, thank you for ordering the program. You won't regret it. So some of this is true for you guys who in here, I guess, like, pop in the comments how long you've been quit, if you've started the BaccOff program, or like what's keeping you from quitting. Then I'll know kind of where everybody is. But so Russell says, as a matter of fact, it's my bet that you'll look back on this decision as one of the most important decisions you've ever made. So that's coming from a dipper who quit successfully. Yeah, Jeremiah, been using it for several years. Clean 2 weeks. Good job, Nathan. So yeah, so I mean, like, this quitting dipping is it's a major decision. Like, addiction is a big deal. And we're going to get, I think, to more of that, but like, it just kind of, it's a habit. It becomes like just part of what you do and who you are. And so quitting is a major, major decision. But At BaccOff, after now almost 30 years of this, like, we can definitely tell you that this is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make, and you will not regret it. So, we added new things, and he says, we dedicate the second edition to those who have found victory over their addiction to smokeless tobacco. We feel confident that you too will join their ranks. Go, everybody. All right. We got another dip, stop, stop sign. Okay. How to use the manual. So he says, the process of altering a person's lifestyle is a difficult thing to do, especially when it involves a drug such as nicotine. Y'all, nicotine is no joke. And all you guys who have quit or are starting and in the throes of the nicotine withdrawals, I know you guys can attest to that. Chris, sorry, he's saying, hate to admit it, but I'm from Southern California. That's great. BaccOff's great. We'll be ordering tomorrow. Awesome, man. That's awesome. So he's saying, and you guys, thumbs up if you identify with this. At this point, you've probably tried to quit several times. Anybody out there who's tried to quit cold turkey or just tried and you're back several times? And perhaps you're looking at BaccOff in this program as a last desperate move before giving up to suffer the consequences of not quitting. Yeah, I see the thumbs ups. You guys are like not alone. Therefore, each step in this program is designed for your benefit and your success. But you must follow the program religiously. Don't leave any part out, even if you think a section doesn't apply. Yeah, quitting, I think anytime we make changes in our lives, like, it's just such a humbling process. So, knowledge is essential, an essential ingredient for success. Without it, the endeavor is doomed to fail. Right thinking produces right behavior, and wrong thinking produces wrong behavior. That's why you must thoroughly know the material in this program now in our BaccOff Bootcamp. So I'm going to skip a little bit. I'll come back again. I'll make my dad come back with his story because he's got his story in here. He started dipping when he was 15 and quit and started back several times before inventing BaccOff. So, but I think one of the coolest things as I was looking through this was section 1. So I'm going to kind of go through that tonight, and then I'll come back with more videos. But look inside your mind. So I know it's like, okay, throw out your dip, get BaccOff, start weaning yourself off the nicotine, join the boot camp, all super important things. But before all of that, you gotta take a good hard look inside your mind and why you're doing this. Because as he says at the beginning, dipping is often a painful process. Quitting dipping is often a painful process, and it's often even more painful to look at yourself and see your faults and your shortcomings, and then do what it takes to change. Anybody identify with that? I guess maybe I'm going to ask you all a question. So, like, what's been the hardest, like the thing that you keep running into that keeps you from quitting? Throw them down in the comments. I'll read them in a little bit. So whether you've been addicted for 5 or 20 years, you may have tried to quit several times. Maybe you've gone without tobacco for several days, maybe several weeks, maybe months. But each time you probably have started out with high expectations only to see your goal fade after a short time. You drifted back into despair, feeling like your goal would never be reached. How did that happen? You didn't plan for that, and you didn't see that coming, and it's not what you wanted, of course, but you've become addicted to a substance that could one day permanently change your life unless you quit. So he goes on to say, your addiction started very slowly, as is true with all addictions. You took a dip with a friend. It was gross, but it was the thing to do, so you dipped some more, and then you became comfortable with it, and then you needed it for certain activities, and then at some point it became about dipping itself. So what can you do? What can you do? You need to quit. You need to quit. But the war rages in your mind and is still going on to this day. You don't want to suffer the consequences, but you don't want to quit. So what do? Then he goes on to talk about getting to the source of your behavior. So he talks a lot about self-talk, which is the driving force of your addiction. Your mind is much stronger than the physical addiction of nicotine. That's really cool. Because I think a lot of times, like, in addictions with whatever that is, like, we think the thing itself, like, this is what's controlling me, when really, like, your mind is much stronger than that. And so self-talk is really important. If you guys identify or whatever, if y'all like also disagree or whatever, like, throw it in the comments. For all you guys watching, glad y'all are here. So what is self-talk? Self-talk is what you hear from your mind. It can be controlled by what you've listened to in the past. It's very real, and it can control the way you act in a given situation. It can also contain truth or lies. So he goes on to say, like, changing your self-talk from, like, I'm never going to get out of this. This is too big for me. I just have to have the nicotine, to, like, I can do this. I control my actions. And so when you talk to yourself, you either speak failure or hopelessness over yourself, or you speak life. It's pretty good stuff. So then he goes on. So I think that's where, like, and that's what we in the BaccOff Bootcamp try to provide a space for when you are, like, when you're talking to yourself like that and you can't make it stop. You've got an outlet to go and, like, talk to other people. I love seeing all the guys in the BaccOff Bootcamp, like, I'm really having a hard day, and how fast people are ready to, like, jump in and be like, hang in there, you got it. So, and I think I've said this before, obviously. I mean, well, not obviously, but I'm not a dipper. But I have dealt with my own journey of healing, changing a lot of things in my life. And yeah, the way you speak to yourself. I'm also, fun fact, an Enneagram 1. I don't know who hates the Enneagram, who loves the Enneagram, but I am a 1. And so I deal a lot with inner critic, that self-talk. And so learning, like, how to identify truth versus lies when you speak to yourself is essential. And so anyway, and then I'll probably, like, I can definitely take questions if you guys have questions. So then the book goes on to talk about false reality and true reality. And so false reality, I kind of just talked about that a little bit. Like, I'm never going to be able to quit. There's no sense in trying. Even though this isn't true, it becomes truth in your mind. And at this point, your mind has been programmed to accept failure, and you will fail unless you realize that your mind is speaking a false reality. So what do? Well, there's true reality, which deals with facts and not feelings. So let's illustrate it. During one of those times when you decide to quit, hours can seem like an eternity, and to make it for a day or two can seem impossible. If you've been through this, you felt like you were going to die. The thought became so overwhelming that you gave up and gave in. Your self-talk spoke a lie and you believed it. This is a false reality. True reality is the fact that you did not die. You would not have died for lack of a dip. And your life would not fall apart without a pinch between the cheek and the gum. You can live without tobacco and be free. That is the fact, not the feeling. It's pretty good stuff. Yeah, Justin's talking about we're always our harshest critic. So true. So true. So overcome the lies in your mind. To overcome the lies in your mind, you must become an effective listener to your self-talk. When you hear your self-talk speaking lies, you must not believe it. I think that's really cool. Like, I think we listen to ourselves all the time. Like, we're talking to ourselves all the time. But how to become an effective listener of your self-talk, like, I guess for some of you guys who are, like, just starting out on the journey or who have been at it for years, like, you choose what you listen to when you speak to yourself. And so, I mean, I think for those just starting out, like choosing whether or not you listen to, like, I'll never make it, I'll never get there. And for you guys who have been quit for months or a year or so, like making sure that you listen to when you hear like, it's good, like I'm good, I've made it, it's not going to get me again. It's okay if I relax or like take a dip just this one time. Like make sure that we are effective listeners to your self-talk. Anyway, old Russell Ralston laying down some truth. Tip Stop program. Anyway, so so then we're talking more about lies. This is good stuff, but I'm not going to read it all. Because we've got a lot of this in our BaccOff Bootcamp. So we'll wrap up here on this, and then I'll have to come back. It sounds like I'm gonna have to come back and do more. So after you've thought through that, like, he's encouraging you to write down lies that you believe. So when you think about not quitting, for you guys who are thinking about quitting but haven't like made that decision yet, what are some of the lies that you believe? Some examples could be like, I couldn't enjoy my favorite hobbies, or I'm too addicted, or it's just not as fun without it, or I can't handle the stress of work, or whatever. And then, so write that down, and then write down some truths, like next to that. What are some truths that you can speak? Some examples are, other people enjoy hobbies without dipping. I can do this if I choose to, and my life will be better overall, and the stress won't last forever. So, self-talk, it's a big deal. All right, I got some comments I want to read. Jeremiah Johnson, that's in this picture. This is great. I got Jeremiah Johnson watching my Facebook Live. My brother and I started dipping while working cattle with my grandpa 40 years ago. Quitting is the most difficult thing to do. Ironically, that's with having a father who is a retired medical doctor, family physician that hounded us to quit over and over. I mean, yeah, I know, right? We always have all the excuses, like, we know what we're supposed to do. But you got to make that decision for yourself. And that's where it starts in your mind. Because it doesn't matter, like, if your dad's a doctor or you've got BaccOff in your hand, like, you've got to choose that you're going to quit. And when you do that, then BaccOff can become really powerful in helping the physical cravings and the mental stress of, like, I just need a dip. So we'll get more to that later. So let's see. Jason said, yeah, the hardest thing for me is to get over the fact that the dip isn't in my lip. I would either begin to chew my lip off or just put a dip in. That's why BaccOff. Jason said it perfectly. Thanks, Nick. And so why choose our product? Because BaccOff is going to be real as it gets. That's what we've dedicated our company to, is to, like, that's what we do every day, is try to give you guys dip alternatives that are the most realistic in taste, texture, and satisfaction. So we try to give you a realistic texture, a realistic taste. We try to make the can like look as much like the real thing as we can, because like, you love dipping, and that's fine. And we don't think that somebody should have to quit dipping in order to quit their addiction. So, and BaccOff is hands down going to be the most realistic on the market. We have a lot of flavors. We got pouches, we got fine cuts, we've got rough cuts, and BaccOff is designed so that it can be blended with your regular product to help wean yourself off of the nicotine, because there's no sense quitting cold turkey if you don't have to. Yeah, anyway, hope that helps. Let's see. I'm gonna read a couple more. Chris has got it. At first, dipping to me was the ultimate man image. Nothing better than country music, chewing tobacco, and firearms, right? Like, it is in our culture. Like, we're in Alabama. Like, it's such a cultural thing. But now that I'm a superintendent anytime a trade comes in to ask me a question, I pack a lip in a meeting. I pack a lip. Literally anything I do requires me to pack a lip. BaccOff will allow me to get through it without giving up dipping. Yep. So it's like you don't have to give up dipping because it's just kind of a way of life in a lot of places. But addiction doesn't have to be. Like, that's something you guys can choose. I love that. So is there actually a BaccOff Bootcamp? Yes, there is. Well, okay, I see what you're saying now. It is a digital BaccOff Bootcamp. We're gonna get to that. GC, Steve. It's not an actual event, even though that would be fun. But it is a digital boot camp, and we send out encouragement, and we send out methodical steps with a timeline to help yourself wean off of the nicotine. And you can always grab a partner, which we'll talk about in the BaccOff or the Dip Stop program. That is a major part, actually, is having someone to support you in that. So stay tuned for more about that, and also who knows, one day. We have Mint. It's going to be $2.99 on the website, $2.89 if you get a subscription, which is like no strings attached, canceling time. So it's like just you can save money. What else? You guys are great. Does it really work? I've tried everything to quit and nothing works. So I'm going to say 2 answers to that. Yes, it really works. And also, like, you are the one who has to choose to quit, Tyler. That's why I'm taking time to talk through this, because ultimately quitting is you have to choose to quit. And so nothing is going to make you quit, but BaccOff is definitely going to be one of the most helpful, if not the most helpful tools in succeeding. Because we'll talk more about it. Look, I'll show you. We have more art coming. We have graphs and an old BaccOff can. Look at that. So we actually, it's proven to help reduce the stress of nicotine withdrawals. So that's why BaccOff is so key, has been so key to so many dippers in quitting. So especially if you tried to quit and you keep failing and you keep coming back to dipping, then definitely would say give BaccOff and the BaccOff Bootcamp a try. So, Jacob, hope you like those BaccOff pouches that are coming in today. You guys are awesome. This has been fun. And yeah, stay tuned for the next edition of the Dip Stop program, Freedom from Addiction. Sorry, I had to do that one more time. All right, guys, y'all have a good evening. We'll talk to you again soon.